Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. It is Friday, August 2nd, 2013. Yes, I'm finally able to do the SmackDown show on Friday because I was actually able to get off work early enough to see the whole show. Anyways, yes, it is time for the SmackDown show. August 2nd, 2013, from Houston, Texas, they were in. The show starts off with the intro video, and then they get some pyro up there on the stage, which is nice. And they say that because of, I believe it was Raw, when Punk was trying to cut a promo, and Fandango came out and interrupted him, we're going to have Punk versus Fandango in a match later on tonight. And also, we will be having Caitlyn versus AJ one more time, and that will be for the Divas title. And this is because, again on Raw, Caitlyn was able to pin AJ in a non-title match. So again, that's later on. I'm going to try to breeze through this as quick as possible. So, I'm not going to bother doing anything in the game here. So, yeah. But anyways, after the hype for those two nice matches, Alberto Del Rio comes out. And while he's coming out, they make mention of the fact that since JBL is climbing another mountain, he's not on commentary again tonight. And that was the same thing on Raw, on Monday for Raw. So we have guest commentator Alex Riley, who apparently has been doing commentary on Superstars, I think. But either way, Alex Riley's on commentary for the night with Michael Cole. Which, okay, I mean, whatever. As it turns out, Riley was a hell of a lot better on commentary than JBL was. So, I'm almost hoping we could make this a permanent thing. Riley's not really that good as a wrestler, but at least he's decent at commentary. But anyways, they talk about that. Del Rio comes out and he talks, and apparently this is when he's going to make his big announcement of who he has chosen to be his opponent for SummerSlam, since Vicky gave him the option to do that. Or the opportunity, rather. But he's talking for a while, and he eventually comes around to finally say that he is choosing Ricardo Rodriguez to be his opponent. Yeah. Vicky comes out. She ain't happy. And she says, like, what the hell are you thinking? This is very immature. Whatever. And so Del Rio's like, if you don't like that, I could choose somebody else. And then he decides he's going to choose the Brooklyn Brawler. Yeah. Classic, well, not even classic, just typical cowardly heel bullshit. It's really, really pathetic. Anyways, Vicky has none of it, and she says, you know what? We're going to have a triple threat match later on tonight for the number one contendership. And the participants are going to be Rob Van Dam, Christian, and Randy Orton. So each guy comes out in turn as Vicky announces them, whatever. That segment ends, and once again they hype the Divas match for later on, as well as Punk and Fandango, and they cut to a commercial. When they come back, they recap. I think this was from SmackDown last week. Yeah. Sandow was having a match with Randy Orton, and Cody came out and snatched Sandow's briefcase and ran off with it. And the whole thing with Cody throwing it into the Gulf of Mexico and Sandow jumping in after it. So they recap that, whatever. They cut back to the arena, and Jack Swagger is already in the ring with Zeb Coulter. And then out comes Cody. And as soon as Cody gets in the ring, Coulter grabs a mic and starts talking. And before he can get a roll on, Cody grabs the mic and I think he smacks Swagger in the face with it. It doesn't seem to do much because it just sort of mildly irritated Swagger. But anyways, they get going with the match. This match was fairly short and crap. And the finish is Swagger was going for his gut-wrench powerbomb. But as he lifts Cody up for it, Cody rolls down the back and basically does like the sunset flip sort of roll-up pin kind of thing. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. So Cody wins real quick with a really crappy roll-up thing. But anyways, after that, they hype up the triple threat match again later on for the number 1 contendership, and they cut to a commercial. And when they come back, they recap what just happened between Swagger and Cody. Whatever. Backstage, Josh Matthews is going to do an interview with Cody. And as Cody starts talking, funny thing I notice about this is while Cody starts talking, he's complaining about Damian. He doesn't like how Damian's been talking down to other people and acting like he's better and smarter and everything. And Cody says he doesn't like it when people do that. And I'm looking at him like, motherfucker, you've been doing that same thing for the last 3 years. You have no room to talk. But all of a sudden, just because he turned face, I guess, he thinks he can bitch up a storm about that. But anyways, as he's talking, Sandow comes from behind, levels him, starts beating the holy shit out of Cody, and deservedly so. Cody's getting all pissy about being screwed out of the Money in the Bank. Sorry, punk bitch, it was every man for himself, and you didn't deserve to win it in the first place. So fuck you. Sandow beats the fuck out of him, throws him down on the floor up against this big, I guess it's one of the shipping crates. It's up on wheels, whatever, but he throws him up against that and he's banging his head up against it, and finally a bunch of referees come up and they grab Sandow and pull him off because he's furious, and rightfully so. Motherfucker throws my Money in the Bank briefcase into the Gulf of Mexico, I'd beat the ever-loving piss out of him. Like, they wouldn't be able to pull me off of that bitch. I'd choke him until he stopped breathing, little motherfucker. Sorry, Cody, but look, you suck, alright? You're not that good of a wrestler. You don't have much charisma. You can't hardly cut promos. You still have a lisp. And you suck. Alright? Your brother Goldust was better than you. And he never was WWE Champion or World Heavyweight Champion. What makes you think you deserve to be World Heavyweight Champion? You're not that good. Anyways, like I said, they pull Sandow off, and that's the end of that. They cut back out to the arena, and out comes Sin Cara. And I'm just like, why are they doing this with him again? He comes out, and he's not wearing his normal entrance attire. Normally he would have this sort of long, kind of flowing coat thing. This time he just has like a hoodie vest. Like, there's not even any designs on it or anything. It's just like a hooded vest. Whatever. He comes out and he gets in the ring, and I'm like, okay, who's he jobbing to? And then Big E's music hits. And out comes Big E. Without AJ. And I'm like, yeah. So it's Sin Cara versus Big E. Oh yeah, as Big E is coming out, they recap Ziggler and Big E from Raw, and AJ, of course, costing Big E the match. But they recap that. So they finally start having the match, and it was an okay match. It was basically a squash, though. The only things interesting of note is, shortly into the match, they show Ziggler's watching it from backstage in the locker room. Whoop-de-doo. The finish of the match is Big E had went for the big ending, but Sin Cara got out of it. I think he went to do a springboard moonsault. Big E catches him right on his shoulder, right perfect placement for the big ending. He gets him cinched, drops him with the big ending, and he gets the win. Of course Big E's gonna squash Sin Cara. Duh. But it was still it was an okay match. After that, once again, they hyped the Divas title match and Punk versus Fandango for later on. And then they cut to another commercial. And when they come back, they show another recap video of the Wyatt family. All their attacks so far: Truth, Kane the first time, Justin Gabriel, and the 3MB from that one episode of Superstars. And then Kane again, and just recapping all the stupid promos that Bray has cut. Whatever the fuck. But after that, they cut backstage to Renee Young, who is with Caitlyn and Layla. And the basic gist of this is Renee basically asks Caitlyn how she's feeling about this match with AJ coming up, and Caitlyn says, you know what, I feel good because we're here in Houston, you know, where Caitlyn is from, and it's this very same arena, the Toyota Center, I think they called it. The Toyota Center arena apparently was the arena where Caitlyn won the Divas title the first time. I think that was when she beat Eve and chased Eve off. So, yeah. So, she's talking, and then they let Layla talk. And Layla basically says, you know what, I've been around here a while, and I've never seen another diva with more passion, with more drive than Caitlyn. And that's basically it for the promo. Renee leaves, but Caitlyn's like really touched that Layla would say that about her, and so they end up hugging, and they get this shot into Layla's face, and I'm like, yeah. I've been sensing this for a while, because they keep showing Layla hanging around with Caitlyn, and they always seem to show Layla with this look on her face. I've been sensing this for a while, but we'll get to this. That's basically where that segment ends. They cut to the office, where Del Rio is with Vicky, and Del Rio's not happy about the decision that Vicky made to have the triple threat and whatever. Whatever the fuck. Brad Maddox comes up, and whatever the fuck they're talking. Del Rio storms off because he's all pissed. And that's the end of that segment. And then Fandango's music hit, and out he comes with Summer Rae. And as he's coming out, they recap again what led to this match. Punk cutting his promo and Fandango interrupting, and then Punk kicking his ass. So they recap that, and then they cut to a commercial. And when they come back, Johnny's actually finishing his entrance with the little Burning Man pyro thing above the ring. And then Punk comes out. And they do this, and they start up the match, and this turns out to be a damn good match. And I'm not even joking. It went on for a good 10, 12 minutes or so. There was a commercial in the middle of it. And the finish of the match was Johnny had gotten Punk down. I don't really remember what he did to get Punk down. But he went up to the top rope to go for his big leg drop finish. But Punk got up, hits the ropes, and crotches Johnny up on the top rope. And this sets him up. Punk gets up there, cinches him up for a superplex. He superplexes him off the top rope. And as they hit, Punk rolls through on top of Johnny and then cinches his arm up and locks him into the Anaconda Vice. Like, real quick. And Johnny taps out pretty much immediately. And so Punk wins. But it was a really good match. And the finish was actually pretty good. I like that about Punk, that he's really good at chain wrestling. You know, linking a move into another one, and so on. It's really good. Again, that's the mark of a good wrestler, is when you can chain stuff together. And so, yeah, it was a good match, though. I know I just kind of glanced over it, but I don't really want to go into detail or we'll be here all night. After that, they recap Del Rio from earlier when he started the show with trying to pick Rodriguez and whatever the fuck. And, of course, they also go over Vicky making the triple threat. And that segues into backstage Renee Young, once again, who is there with RVD. And basically what happens here is Rob's trying to cut a promo, and he does his little Rob Van Dam where he's pointing at himself, and just as he's about to say damn, Christian cuts in and says damn. And so Christian starts cutting his own promo, and he says, you know, I want one more match. And as he says match, Randy cuts in and says loss. And then Randy starts cutting his own promo, and he's saying, I'm going to drop somebody with an RKO. And as he says oh, Rob cuts in one more time and says bro. Whatever. Rob talks for a little bit longer, and that's basically the end of the promo. They cut to a commercial. When they come back from the commercial, Caitlyn comes out with Layla, and they show another recap from Raw of Caitlyn beating AJ, and then AJ comes out, and it's time for the Divas title match. Now, this match was short, but it was okay. But basically, the only really things to note is Caitlyn had the upper hand. She threw AJ out of the ring, I think, and then went out after her. And she threw AJ into the barricade, and then it was the barricade by the ramp, the very bottom of the ramp, and where it's still the actual barricade and not that like kind of metal fence thing that they have up on the ramp, but it's the barricade part. She throws her into the barricade, and then she backs up to the other side of the barricade across the aisleway. And she looks like she's going to charge up and like spear AJ. But as she goes to charge up, Layla dives in the way and says, stop. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because I'm thinking, like, is she trying to stop her from getting herself disqualified or something? But no, she's standing there with her arms out like, stop. And then AJ jumps up and clocks Caitlyn, like, big forearm shot, throws her back into the ring, and then AJ is able to lock in the Black Widow again, and Caitlyn taps out. So AJ wins. So basically, the gist of it is Layla got in the way and cost Caitlyn the match. And after AJ started beating on Caitlyn, after Layla got in the way, Layla just kind of leaned up against the barricade, and she just had this devilish grin on her face, like she wasn't sad or anything. So this is basically a heel turn for Layla. Like I said, I've been sensing this for weeks. They keep showing Layla with this look on her face like she's sick and tired of Caitlyn getting so many shots at the Divas title. And I don't know if she's jealous or what, but Layla turned heel, cost Caitlyn the match, and after the match, Layla ends up skipping off with AJ, and the two of them leave together. So apparently Layla and AJ are now friends. And there was one other thing that I forgot to mention. As AJ was coming out for the match, the commentators mentioned that both Maddox and Vicky have decided that from now on, Big E is not allowed at ringside during AJ's matches. And I'm like, okay, but why? Big E hasn't really interfered in AJ's matches at all. So what does it matter? But whatever, it doesn't matter because now Layla's going to be there for AJ's matches, I guess. Whatever. Layla skips off with AJ, and they hype up the triple threat number one contender match, and that's apparently later on. But next up, we have this championship respect segment. They cut to commercial. When they come back, it's the Raw Rebound, and they basically recap the whole thing between Cena and Daniel Bryan. Cena choosing Bryan as his opponent, and then I think it was last week Vince talking to Bryan and saying that Cena's just a bitch and whatever the fuck. And then Bryan and Cena backstage in the locker room, and then Cena having his match with Ryback, the tables match, and Bryan coming out afterwards, and them having their little stare down in the ring afterwards. And that's basically it for that. After that, they cut back to the arena, and Randy Orton comes out. It's time for the triple threat. After him, Christian comes out, and then they cut to a commercial break. When they come back, we're going to do another recap of Del Rio versus Randy Orton from 2 weeks ago on Raw, I think. And Randy got the RKO and got the win. And then Christian from this past Raw beating Del Rio with the roll-up or whatever. And after that, RVD comes out. And so we got the three guys in the ring, and it's looking like we're going to start the match, and then Del Rio's music hits. He comes out on the stage with a mic, and he says that, you know what, it doesn't really matter which one of you wins, because I'm going to beat you at SummerSlam. That's basically the gist of it. So we finally start this match. Number one contender match for the world title, Orton versus Christian versus RVD. There's 2 commercial breaks during this match. It went on for quite a while. The only really interesting spots to mention is Randy had gone for his comeback combo. He hits the one clothesline, and then he hits the other one, and then he ducks RVD's clothesline, and RVD hits the ropes, but he holds on, and Randy's going to go for the power slam, but he misses it. But RVD then body slams Randy, and he goes for the rolling thunder. But as he's going for it, he does the roll, and he jumps up to do the flipping senton. Randy jumps up and grabs him in midair and power slams him. So he power slams him out of the rolling thunder. That was kind of interesting. The commentators had to make a big deal out of it. It looked like a good spot, honestly. It was cool. But the finish of the match is Randy had Christian down in the ring. RVD was outside the ring. And Randy was, he had planted Christian with the rope-hung DDT, and he was all down on the mat beating on it, and he was ready for the RKO. RVD slides in, and Randy notices him, and he notices Rob, and he goes to kick him, but Rob grabs Randy's foot, and he goes to spin him around, but Randy, as he spins around, he just jumps up and grabs Rob and hits the RKO, and he plants Rob with this RKO pretty hard. And then Christian gets up, and Randy goes to RKO him, but Christian turns it around into a backslide, and he's able to kind of kick off of the mat, and he's holding Randy down, and he gets the 3 count. So Christian wins with a backslide. And so Christian wins. It was a good match. It went all over the place. They were fighting on the outside for a bit, and it was basically your sort of standard triple threat where one guy was always knocked out of the ring while the other 2 were in the ring trying to beat each other. Whatever. But after the match, it was a good match. After the match, Randy gets up after being pinned, and he actually shakes Christian's hand. And I was thinking, oh crap, is Randy going to turn heel? No, doesn't happen. He shakes Christian's hand and then he leaves. And then finally Rob gets up after getting the shit RKO'd out of him by Randy. He finally gets up and he shakes Christian's hand too. And then he leaves. And Christian's still in the ring celebrating, and up comes Matthews again, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Matthews tries to interview Christian. He's like, how do you feel after earning this number one contendership? And like Christian's like, you know what? I'm going to make this short because I'm kind of banged up. And just as he starts to say that, Del Rio comes out of nowhere and clocks Christian, starts beating him up, and he hits that kneeling super kick on him and just lays Christian out. And so Del Rio is standing over Christian's corpse, basically. And that's how the show ends. So, yeah. That was SmackDown from the 2nd of August, 2013, Houston, Texas. Overall, it was a decent show. Aside from one crappy match, Swagger and Rhodes, that started the show, the first match. Sin Cara and Big E was okay, but it wasn't really that long. It was like a minute or 2 minute long squash. Wasn't bad, but it wasn't really that great either. Fandango and Punk was a damn good match, though. That was really good. Excuse me. AJ and Caitlyn was also an okay match, but it basically only served to turn Layla heel. So, whatever the fuck. And then you had the triple threat match, which was good. And so we have set up Christian versus Del Rio for SummerSlam. And that should be interesting. Don't know. That's pretty much it for SmackDown. And now I'd like to talk about something else. Yesterday was Thursday, obviously, and it was TNA Impact. And I know I never really go over Impact because, it usually sucks. And, well, this episode was pretty much no exception. See, I had been caught up in the hype. See, here lately on Impact, they have been hyping up this August 1st person. Apparently they've been getting these mysterious tapes of this guy who, in the tape, it's just a silhouette and it's really staticky and his voice is muffled with like a voice changer thing. And he's basically been saying, August 1st, I'm going to show up. I don't work for Impact. I don't work for Spike TV. But I've got a problem and I'm going to make my presence known on August 1st. So I got caught up in the hype. I end up watching this whole episode of Impact. And while there were 3 pretty good matches that they had, let's see. There was... Who all did we have? AJ Styles and Austin Aries had a match, which was supposedly their first match in TNA. And this was part of the Bound for Glory series. Was a pretty damn good match all the way up until the finish, which sucked. The finish, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. They had both gone for their finishing moves a couple of times, couldn't really get it. I don't really remember what move happened that laid them both out, but they both wound up laid out in the middle of the ring, flat on their backs, and Aries kind of moves his arm and gets it over top AJ's chest. And the ref starts counting 1, 2, and Aries gets his other shoulder up to make sure he's not counted out, and the referee counts 3, so Aries wins, but it was just this really bad finish. It almost looked like it was botched. I don't know. But again, it was a good match, ruined by the finish. The other good match they had was Chris Sabin, the current World Heavyweight Champion in TNA, versus Manic, formerly known as Suicide, who is the brand new X Division Champion. And these two put on a damn good match as well. Again, the finish sucked. Trying to remember how that one finished. I think basically all that happened is Sabin rolled up Manic for the win. But it was a pretty damn good match. And there's that. The other good match on the card was, surprisingly enough, a knockouts match. Was ODB versus Gail Kim. And apparently these two have been feuding for a while. ODB has been the knockouts referee for a while, since Taryn Terrell couldn't be the referee after she was cost that job by Gail. Whatever the fuck. But Gail has been obsessed with fucking with ODB. But anyways, they were having a pretty damn good match until they both wound up on the outside of the ring, and they both got knocked out somehow, and they got counted out. So it was a double count-out finish. So again, would have been a good match if the finish hadn't sucked. But finally, the end of the show was all night they had been hyping up the main event Mafia, who have returned. They have an offer to make to the Aces and Eights. And it's supposedly an offer they can't refuse, because we're going Mafia with this shit, you know. So the Mafia comes out and they're talking and they say, we've got an offer to make to the Aces and Eights. And the 5 other members of the Aces and Eights come out without Bully Ray, because Bully Ray was handling something about his rematch with Sabin for the title. I don't know, but Bully Ray wasn't there. But the other 5 members of Aces and Eights come out and they're like, okay, what's this offer? And so the Mafia, I don't remember who exactly it was, but they say, we would like to propose a 5-on-5 tag team match at, I think it's Bound for Glory coming up, I'm not quite sure. But the special stipulation is, whoever takes the fall, whoever loses the match for their team, whoever loses, that person, their career in TNA is over. So no matter what, somebody loses, they're gone from TNA. And, okay, fine. The Aces and Eights are thinking about it. And then I think it was Samoa Joe grabs the mic. He's one of the members of the main event Mafia. And he says, this ain't a negotiation. And as he says that, just a big fight erupts between the two factions. And they're all fighting. And the Mafia ends up clearing out Aces and Eights. They get knocked out of the ring. And so Mr. Anderson, who is the vice president of the Aces and Eights, he grabs a mic and he says, you know what? You got it. You're on. We accept. And so it's like, okay, great. And they had teased the August 1 thing all night. Apparently this dude showed up in a white, stretched-out Hummer limo. And Taz, who is one of the members of the Aces and Eight, also one of the commentators, he had been locked out of the building from the start. I don't know if they've been doing this as a gag for the last couple of weeks. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, you had Mike Tenay and Jeremy Borash on commentary all night, and it was so much better than if Taz had been there. Taz sucks on commentary. But anyways, Taz had gone out to the white, stretched-out Hummer limo, and he says, you know what, I'm going to reveal this guy. But no, because he opens the door, and all he sees sitting on the backseat of the limo is the stupid laptop showing another one of the stupid warning videos that they've been showing. But anyways, that was earlier in the night. After the whole brawl between the Aces and Eights and the main event Mafia, and after the Aces and Eight accept the challenge, the lights go out and there's this really crappy music playing, and then there's the spotlight on the stage, and out comes Tito Ortiz. Tito Ortiz was a multiple-time UFC champion. He's been fighting for Bellator here recently, and from what I have heard, he's only won a single match or a single fight of his last 9 fights. One of them apparently was a tie, and the other 7 he lost to his opponents. So Tito Ortiz is completely irrelevant in the world of mixed martial arts. They bring him into TNA for no good reason. And apparently they had to fire a couple of people or release a couple of people here recently. And now they bring in Tito Ortiz. What in the hell is he possibly going to do that's going to be worthwhile, that is going to help TNA in any way? And the funny thing about it is, Rampage Jackson, another big MMA guy, is one of the members of the Main Event Mafia. But yeah. So Tito Ortiz comes out, and he comes down the ramp, and he doesn't even come close to the ring. He's just standing there with his arms crossed, kind of looking at the ring, nodding, and that's it. That's all he does. He doesn't do shit. And that's where the show ends. So they hype this up for weeks, this August 1 warning, and this dude, and it turns out to be Tito Ortiz, who's completely irrelevant to mixed martial arts and has nothing to do with pro wrestling. But they bring him into TNA. Fucking stupid. You could have used this to bring in an actual wrestler. Somebody who could have been like a big acquisition. But no, they waste it on Tito Ortiz. Yet another moment of LOL TNA. The list is getting pretty long. This is why I don't watch TNA. My thoughts after the show was over is, after months of not watching this show, I get pulled in by this hype for this August 1 thing, and I sit for 2 hours and watch what could have been 3 good matches, ending with horrible finishes, all of them. There was another couple of matches. There was one that was crap, and I don't really remember much else. There was a lot of backstage segments. And I wasted 2 hours of my life watching this shit to see Tito Ortiz come out. What in the fuck are they thinking? Morons. This is why I don't watch Impact. This is why I won't watch Impact. I watched it once. I got suckered in. I'm not watching it again for a while. Okay? So, that's it for that. SmackDown and also Impact from yesterday. Yeah. Don't bother watching TNA, folks. Don't bother. Until they decide to actually change their ways and actually make things better. Until they finally get rid of Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. And apparently Bischoff is the mastermind behind this August 1 storyline and bringing in Tito Ortiz. So, once again, Bischoff, this is a fucking WCW moment. They did this same kind of crap back in WCW right before the company folded. And this is exactly the kind of crap that's going to kill TNA, too. Good job, morons. Friggin' Jesus. I'm not watching TNA. Not for a long time. Until they finally change things around. Until I hear that Bischoff and Hogan are gone, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch TNA. Because they keep fucking everything up. But either way, like I said, that was SmackDown and TNA Impact. TNA Impact, aside from 3 good matches with 3 terrible finishes, the show sucked. SmackDown was a decent show, had a couple of good matches, and Layla's heel turn, which I saw coming a mile away because they fucking teased the shit out of it for weeks. But then again, I suppose that is the right way to do it. You don't just want to snap your fingers and turn someone heel just at the drop of a hat. There needs to be a build-up to it. There needs to be a reason We don't really know the reason behind Layla, but I'm going to assume it's because she's jealous of Caitlyn getting so many Divas title shots, or she's just sick and tired of hearing Caitlyn cry when she can't beat AJ. So, whatever. I'm sure that will be explained either this coming Monday on Raw or next Friday on SmackDown. I don't really care, because I don't give two shits about Layla. She's not that good of a wrestler either. And she definitely can't cut promos. But anyways, that's it for the show. SummerSlam is still another week or two away, so we've still got some more build to get through before SummerSlam. Join us next time for Raw on Monday.